Okay, some of you are probably thinking like, wow, really, Kim, toolbox? What's in my toolbox video? That's like so ungirly and weird. The reason why I have a toolbox full of my baking things is because back then when I went to baking classes, you had to transport your own like baking stuff, like baking tools and knives and everything, and they made us bring it either in the toolbox or a knife bag, which baking doesn't really use that many knives, and this can't fit like everything I need. I don't want you guys to think that you need nice things to be able to bake yummy food. This is just stuff that made it like a little more easier for me to bake stuff. You could probably have like all the coolest and newest and most expensivest gadgets in the world, but if you don't actually put in the effort and try, your baking is just going to suck. That's why it's important to bake with love. If you just want to up your game a little with baking, like you're into baking as a hobby and you want to and you want to buy like more things, like expand your baking tools, like this would be a good set of things to get. Okay, the first part, the top half, is just like stuff. Most importantly, I had like bandages in here, like painkillers for half my period, and Hello Kitty bandages that kind of suck, burn gel, like just in case I like burn myself while cooking, markers, pens, and pencils. Writing is important during baking, down recipes or notes, and this marker, I use it to label like my food, like stuff like dough. If I want to throw it in the freezer, it's really important to like label them and write the date. And here's my notepad. Not very baking-ish items, and the first tip I ever bought was like a large circle tip that you use to like, you know, pipe stuff. This is a 1A circle piping tip. Each piping tip has like a number and like letter on it usually. This one doesn't have it for some reason. When you go to like cake decorating stores, you could just tell them like what tip number it is and they'll like know which one you need, or you can tell them like, oh, I want to make leaves or something, and then they'll tell you like, oh, you need this tip. And this is just a nail that I use to make flowers out of frosting, and just this cookie cutter that I've probably never used, but I just thought it'd be cute to have in here. Some food coloring, like I always have the red one, which I'm dangerously low on and I need to buy new ones, and it's like the Wilton, I think, brand. And I always dye everything pink, so it's like completely empty. Okay, now for the inside of my bag, or toolbox, I don't know how should I put this. Let's leave it right here. I have my food scale. You get into like more deeper, complicated recipes, I like to think. More cooks, they like to use the scale because it's more precise and it has like different form of measurements like grams, pounds, ounces, and stuff. Measuring cups just don't cut it for some people, you know. I just think it's fine. I have like this Scali Primo one. I think I've shown this in one of my videos before. You need piping bags and couplers. It really depends like what you're baking to. Like a whole nother set of stuff for like just cake decorating stuff. But this is just for like things like all around baking. I have a tiny whisk right here, but I recommend that you get the giant whisk because bigger is better. Okay. It's more better on your hands. Like when you're mixing it, you can just go like this as opposed to like this. There are some things that you had to like whisk like crazy with, and this is just a lot easier. When you're whisking, you want to keep your hands kind of loose on the whisk, and then you kind of just go like this. If you hold it on too tightly while mixing, you'll eventually get really tired and your wrist will start hurting like a lot. Tiny whisk, I like almost barely use it. I'm not even sure why it's in here, but I guess when this one gets dirty, I can just grab this one. Okay, let's just jump into my knives. Like these are like the basic knives. For baking, you don't really need that many knives. Well, that's for me, like personally, I don't really need that many knives when it comes to baking. But you need like some knife guards, guard the blades, and this is like a chef knife. 7-inch Toku knife. I only like it because it's pink. And you need a bread knife. This one really sucks. I got it from the Dollar Tree. I don't recommend that. Bread knives are used to obviously cut bread and to also, you know, cut your cake layers to trim them like sideways and halfways. Is a paring knife. Kind of use this to like check for pies for doneness. That's all I've really done with it, and maybe to loosen the sides of your pans. I also have this like pink one, but it's like super dull. I maybe use it to like cut strawberries, and that's it. And you need like a ton of spatulas. Like I have like so many spatulas, and they're all like $1, except for this really Akuma one, costing me like an arm and a leg. You need a sort of flimsy kind of spatula to get around the bowls. If you get like this hard one, you can barely like get stuff around the bowls. Like these are like my tough spatulas, but these are good for like, you know, scooping out ice cream out of the little turny thingy. And these smooth ones are good for bowls. And this is from the Dollar Tree, Dollar Tree Daiso. I got a couple of these because, you know, while baking, you just want to be quick and, you know, scrape well clean, and then you need to grab another spatula, and I don't really feel like washing them all one by one, so I just have like a ton in my bag. You need a wooden spoon to make stuff like Choke's pastry, like cream puffs, so, or like cream, so like you can run your finger like this and you can see if the line is there. I don't really know how to explain that. And a ruler to be like super precise, because baking is all about precise and all the little details. A fondant roller, I sort of use this for like other things if I'm like doing like small doughs or whatever. I have like these vegetable peelers. These are like the Asian kind. You could get this from like an Asian store, like way better than a regular peeler. Like you just peel like that, like a regular knife, and much more easier to peel. Oh, let me just give you like a little bit of a close-up. Like this is how it looks. Oh my god, it's like shining. And a pair of scissors to cut stuff, like paper, parchment papers. Spatulas to even stuff out. I have a big, offset spatulas. This is what it's called, offset. I have a big one and a little one. I like using the small one better because it's better on my hands. This is too big. Use this to smooth out cakes, like the frostings, and like cake batter or ice cream scoops. You could use it to scoop up cookie dough, and you'll have like even portions, or like muffins, and you'll have even sized muffins. Or anything that you want to be even sized is all, I don't want to say it's all about, but like baking, you want to be like super precise. You want everything to like kind of look the same. Cause like when you go into a bakery, like a fancy one I guess, everything's like almost exactly alike, and that's really important for them. And a little brush for egg washing stuff. Well, some of these things that you could get it from like Home Depot even. Okay, this is called a Lazy Susan. Back then, when I just bought like so many baking stuff and I wanted to go a little cheap on the things I bought, I got this Lazy Susan. It's not like the greatest thing in the world, but if you're like cheap or don't want to spend that much, this is what I use to decorate cakes. Like you need to be able to see the cake from all around. So I just placed like the cake on top of this and, you know, spun it around and got like my spatula and then just spin this around and smooth things around it. It's a Lazy Susan. It's from Home Depot or like any hardware store, and it costs like $3-4 as opposed to like an actual spinny cake thing. And a thermometer with this really long string and this little probe thing. It also has a timer thing to like alert you when things are done, and it's like digital. And the timer thing gives you like this really annoying beepy sound when you turn it on. I hate that sound. It's pretty useful for like meat, anything. And you want to boil like syrups or sugar or whatever to a certain temperature. and you'll be like the coolest person during Thanksgiving, which is already past, if you had these and you needed to check the internal temperature of turkey. And it has to be like 165 on the inside to check for doneness. You would just like stick it on there and you just like wait till the number stops and it'll tell you the temperature. A grater to grate things like lemon. But yeah, you have to be careful with graters because for some reason this is like the number one most like accidents kind of happening thing. Like almost everybody I know using a grater like has grated themselves with a grater. I don't know why, but I've like heard about like horror stories of how people don't have fingerprints because it's graters. So you have to be super careful with these. And a little brush to brush on little intricate designs, but I haven't used this yet, I believe. These are cookie cutters that comes in circles, and there's like 11 of them, but I'm missing like one. Comes in different sizes, like one tiny ones and like super big ones. Okay, maybe my most favorite is baking tool. It's probably this bench scraper. This is something that you get from a hardware store. It just looks like a regular scraper, but it's really multi-purpose. I can use it to scrape off my table of like baking stuff like afterwards, and I can use it to cut little cinnamon roll dough or like sliced butter if I don't really want to use a knife. And when I'm rolling out bread dough, it is pretty useful, like picking up the dough when it's sticky with this. Oh, and you could also use it for cake decorating to smooth out the sides, but the only thing is it has this little like bump right here, which you have to be careful and like, you know, make your cake crooked. I kind of want to get one without this handle here and just have this metal plate. And I just have like a little bit of cream of tartar with me because I make a lot of stuff with meringues, and this stabilizes the meringues or stabilizes the egg whites so you can make meringues. And I just have this because I'm like super paranoid sometimes that my meringue won't be stable and I'm afraid it will collapse and stuff. But you could substitute this with like salt, a little bit, a dash of salt I think, or a dash of meringue maybe. I have toothpicks in here to like, you know, for food coloring and to check for doneness in cakes. And of course like little measuring cups, which I can't fit in here for some reason. Basic rule of measuring cups, so you don't just blindly scoop and just go with what you have right there. Let's pretend I'm scooping flour right now. There's flour and there's this giant lump. You want to take a knife and smooth out the flour using a knife so you'll have an even level of flour. Well, that really goes with like anything else you're using with measuring cups to be more like, you know, accurate with your cooking. Like, what's the point of even measuring it if you're not going to even like measure it properly? I got this for like $1 and it comes with like everything. And for some reason my mom thought it'd be okay if she wrote like the recipe behind one of my cups, which really infuriates me. I think my mom thinks of like little things to like sabotage me, like this other ruler to make quilted designs on fondant. You kind of just trace it over this, and I don't have a little thing that I use to make the design, but if you want to make any slanted cuts, this would be good. And rolling pins are always good. This is the one I got from Daiso. It was only $1.50. I think it was 40 inches. The longer the better. Really good for like fondant because you need a really wide fondant to cover your cake. I would like to emphasize that you don't need like a bunch of tools and gadgets to make good food. Like just a bowl and a spoon is probably all you need really, and just following the recipe to the T and just really focusing on the recipe and not just like watching TV or listening to music. Well, sometimes maybe music is a distraction to me while I bake actually, but it really depends on you. You have to be like on that oven and really looking at what you're doing. And it's a good idea to read the recipe beforehand and having all the ingredients. Even rewriting the recipe would be really good because they'll help you maybe pick up on things that you missed or didn't notice. Like I always rewrite the recipe before attempting it. I also keep things in a toolbox because I share a kitchen with my mom, and sometimes my stuff gets mixed in with her stuff and I just can't find my stuff. And it's good to have things in a toolbox while cooking because it's just all like right here. Like, oh, I need a spatula, and then you just get it right here. You don't have to like open a bunch of drawers to find your things. I need a bigger toolbox. If you're watching, I hope what's in my toolbox video was kind of helpful and helped you like decide on like things that you want to buy for Christmas. Bye bye.